Most people know what a bad apology sounds like. I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry, but fine. I said sorry. What more do you want? What most people don't know is why those words are so hard to walk away from, and why you keep accepting them anyway. Neurologically, receiving an apology, even a fake one, produces the same dopamine response as a small financial reward. Your brain is literally paying you to accept it. That's why manipulation through apology works. You've been biologically rewired to want the sorry, whether it's real or not. King Saul apologized to David 7 times. Each apology was sincere in the moment. Each one was followed by another attempt on his life. David eventually stopped accepting them, not out of bitterness, but because he understood something most people never figure out. An apology without change is just a reset button. In the next 8 minutes, I'll show you all 6. By the time we're done, you won't be able to unhear them. And one of them, I guarantee, has been used on you in the last 30 days. Apology number 1. The non-apology. The non-apology is the purest form of fake apology, and it's so common we've stopped noticing it. It sounds like, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry you were offended. I'm sorry if what I said came across wrong. Notice what's absent. There's no acknowledgement of what they did, no ownership. The apology is for your reaction, not their action. Studies in conflict psychology show that receiving a non-apology actually increases feelings of injustice by 34% compared to receiving no apology at all. It doesn't land in a neutral way. It actively makes things worse, while looking like an attempt to make things better. Psychologists call this DAVO, deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. The person who hurt you positions themselves as the real victim of your emotional response. King Saul's apology in 1 Samuel 15 is the oldest documented non-apology in history. He tells Samuel, I have sinned. Sounds real. But his very next sentence was, now please, honor me before the elders of my people. The apology was about reputation management, not remorse. 3,000 years ago. We're still falling for it. The test is simple. Does the apology contain ownership of a specific action? If it doesn't, it's not an apology. It's a deflection, wrapped in the language of accountability. Next, the one that sounds almost real. It starts with, I'm sorry, and it means it, for about 3 words. Apology number 2, the but apology. I'm sorry for what I said, but you know how you get sometimes. I'm sorry I reacted that way, but you have to understand what you are doing to me. I apologize. But if you hadn't, everything before but is a courtesy. Everything after but is the real message. The word but is an eraser. Linguists call it a discourse adversative, a word that signals the speaker is about to contradict what they just said. It deletes everything that came before it. In a Princeton communications study, participants rated apologies containing the word but as less sincere than no apology at all. 71% of the time, the but didn't just weaken the apology, it reversed it completely. Saying I'm sorry but is statistically worse than saying nothing. This apology is designed to split the blame. I'll take half if you'll take half, but you didn't do anything. Now you're either accepting blame for something you didn't do, or you're fighting about the but instead of the original issue. Either way, they've won. Adam in Genesis 3. When God asked him directly, did you eat from the tree I commanded you not to? Adam said, the woman you put here with me, she gave me some fruit. The original but apology. No ownership. Immediate redirect to someone else. 3,000 years of humans using the exact same script. The moment you hear but after I'm sorry, the apology is over. What follows is a counter-argument. Treat it accordingly. After that, the one that somehow turns you into the one doing the comforting, and this one is sneaky. Apology number 3, the emotional hostage apology. This is the sneakiest one, and if you're someone who naturally cares about other people's feelings, it will work on you every single time. It sounds like, I'm sorry, I'm such a terrible person. I don't know why anyone puts up with me. I just ruin everything I touch. Do you see what just happened? You came into this conversation to be heard. You had a legitimate grievance, and now you're saying, no, you're not terrible. Please don't say that. The apology performed its function, not to repair the relationship, but to transfer the emotional weight back onto you. You are now managing their distress about having hurt you. UTF-fact psychologists at Northwestern University found that excessive self-criticism in apologies is one of the strongest predictors of repeat offending. The person who collapses into "I'm a terrible person" is statistically more likely to repeat the same behavior than someone who gives a calm, specific acknowledgement. The dramatic performance is a pattern management tool, not genuine remorse. 2 Corinthians 7-10. Godly sorrow brings repentance that leads to salvation and leaves no regret, but worldly sorrow brings death. This is the clearest biblical distinction between a real and fake apology. Godly sorrow leads somewhere. It changes behavior. Worldly sorrow is performative. It manages the consequence without healing the wound. The emotional hostage apology is worldly sorrow at full volume. Real remorse doesn't need an audience. Real remorse focuses on the person who was hurt, not on how terrible the offender feels about themselves. Here's what you want to know next: the fastest apology in the world, and the most useless one. Apology number 4, the speed apology. Sorry. Anyway, it's the verbal equivalent of a speed bump. It slows down just enough to technically qualify as an apology, then accelerates straight past accountability. The speed apology has one function: to close the conversation before it opens, to check the box marked apologized, without creating any space for the other person to actually respond. If someone says sorry and immediately moves on, they're not apologizing. They're administering a social formality, like saying, "How are you?" without wanting an answer. Communication researchers at Stanford found that the average manipulative apology lasts less than 4 seconds and contains no pause for the recipient's response. A genuine apology averages 30 to 60 seconds and is almost always followed by silence, allowing the other person to process. No pause equals no real apology. Time the next one. Judas returned the 30 pieces of silver and said, "I have sinned by betraying innocent blood." The acknowledgement came. The distress was real. But there was no pause, no turning toward the person harmed, no space for restoration. He moved straight to consequence and away from repair. A real apology requires turning toward the person you hurt. Judas never turned back. Next time someone speeds past "sorry," slow them down. Ask, "What exactly are you apologizing for?" That one question separates the real ones from the performance. And this is the one that has kept more people in damaging relationships than any other on this list. Because this one actually feels real. Because in the moment, it is. Apology number 5, the repeat offender. Apology. This is the one that has kept more people in damaging relationships than any other on this list, because it contains something the others don't. It contains genuine emotion. The repeat offender apology feels real, because it is real. In the moment. The person is genuinely sorry, genuinely distressed, genuinely committed to changing, for about 3 weeks. Psychologists call this the cycle. Incident, tension, apology, honeymoon, incident. It's not unique to extreme situations. It happens in ordinary friendships, families, workplaces. Anywhere one person's behavior repeatedly harms another and an apology repeatedly resets the relationship without repairing it. Research by Dr. Lundy Bancroft found that in repeated apology cycles, the behavior escalates by an average of 40% with each subsequent cycle. Each apology makes the next offense slightly worse, because the reset has been normalized. You've trained each other that this is how the relationship works. The apology isn't evidence of change. It's evidence of the pattern. King Saul apologized to David 7 times by biblical account. Each time, David initially accepted it. Each time, Saul resumed. At some point, David stopped returning to court. He didn't denounce Saul publicly. He didn't confront him dramatically. He simply made himself unavailable. Proverbs 26:11. As a dog returns to its vomit, so fools repeat their folly. The apology is not the measure of a person. The behavior after the apology is. The gap between apologies tells you everything. The measure is not the apology. The measure is the gap between apologies. If the gap isn't getting longer, the apology isn't working. And if it isn't working, it isn't real. Now, the last one. This is the most dangerous one in public, and the one most people never identify because it's designed to be seen by everyone except the person who was actually hurt. Apology number 6. The conditional/reputation apology. I'm sorry if I hurt you. I apologize for anything that may have caused offense. Looking back, I could have handled that better. Notice what every one of these has in common. They all contain uncertainty about whether anything wrong actually happened. The conditional apology has 2 audiences, the public and the person who was actually harmed. It performs for one and ignores the other. If I hurt you is not an apology. It's a conditional statement that subtly suggests maybe you weren't actually hurt. It creates plausible deniability. The person can now claim they apologized, while having accepted 0 responsibility. A Princeton study found that public figures who issue conditional apologies see a 60% lower decline in public trust compared to those who issue no apology at all. The conditional apology is so effective at managing reputation that it's literally quantifiable. It is a PR strategy dressed as remorse. If a professional writer helped craft the apology, that's your first signal. 2 Corinthians 7:10. Godly sorrow brings repentance. Real repentance is directional. It moves toward the person who was hurt. It doesn't manage a public narrative. It repairs a private relationship. Esau's reconciliation with Jacob in Genesis 33 came with 400 armed men. Whatever Esau was offering, it wasn't safety. Jacob stayed on high alert the entire encounter. His spirit knew what his circumstances were trying to tell him. The audience got a reunion. Jacob got a threat. The test for this one is the simplest of all 6. Did they come to you first, privately, before anyone else knew? If the public found out before you got a private apology, you were never the priority. You were the audience. Here's what all 6 of these apologies have in common. They protect the person who caused the harm. Real apologies protect the person who was harmed. That's the entire test. Every time. King Saul apologized 7 times and never changed. David accepted the first few and stopped accepting the rest. Not because he was bitter, because he was wise. The only apology in the Bible described as genuinely real is in 2 Corinthians 7:11. See what this godly sorrow has produced in you. What earnestness, what eagerness to clear yourselves, what indignation, what alarm, what longing, what concern, what readiness to see justice done. Read that list. That's what real remorse looks like from the outside. Urgency, action, change, not words, not performance, movement. You can now identify all 6. That's not a small thing, because the moment you can name what's happening, you can't be fooled by it anymore. And if this video made you think of someone who's been shutting you out rather than facing you with one of these, the next video is exactly where to go. Because sometimes silence is a man's answer to someone who keeps apologizing but never changing.